another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. Thank you for coming back to us here on the channel. We really appreciate your support. Thank you again. Today we're going to be looking at the 6th season of MacGyver. I still got my 90s shirt because the bad fashion trends continue in this season. Something I think is interesting to note is this is probably hands down the season of the show that it just becomes at its least creative. Season 6 I like to refer to as the road trip season because of something odd that happens midway through the year. There are more cheesy episodes in this season than there are anything else at this point. There are no episodes of the show at this point that are really kind of interesting to boot at this point. The show is really kind of redoing stuff that it's done in its past, only changing certain things. Mac, at one point during the season, gets a Chevy Nomad, continuing on the random classic car trend that started happening in the 5th season. The 5th season, if you haven't watched it, Mac gets a classic truck in that season, which is nice to look at, but again, what that has to do with anything, I don't know. Again, it was another random choice by the creators of the show to kind of start changing the show to make Mac a little more hip and relevant, and instead he just kind of becomes less of the badass that he once was and more of like this social worker that works at the YMCA. Very weird stuff. Midway through the season, Mac gets that Chevy Nomad, which is like a station wagon kind of thing, like a 50s kind of station wagon. Which is nice. It's a nice car. But he kind of goes on a road trip midway through the season for like no apparent reason. And a few episodes after that point are all just him running into certain scenarios where the car kind of like breaks down and he gets involved in all these plots that are kind of stupid. One of which actually involves UFOs and like farmers. It's a really, really strange episode, and it goes over like a lead balloon. It's just a really terrible episode. There are not very many good episodes in this season. Ironically, one of my favorite episodes of the season is another episode where MacGyver falls asleep watching a Western and gets transported into the Wild West again. It is a really crazy episode, but for whatever reason, it's one of the episodes in this season that actually stayed with me. It's just really crazy, and it's nice to see them continue on something that they kind of went off on a tangent in the 5th season, and they continued it on in this one. It's kind of interesting. Again, this is another season where almost every episode, MacGyver or somebody he's with is locked in a room, and he has to break out of it. Again, I don't know why they couldn't think of any other scenario for these characters to be in at this point, but really it was just like, you can almost write every plot of every episode down to MacGyver gets involved in a situation, he's introduced to these characters, he gets more involved, they get caught by the bad guys, they get locked in a room, they break out of the room, they catch the bad guys. That is every single episode of the show at this point. It is crazy stupid, and it goes on again to the next season. I think one thing that's of note of this season, even though the finale is not the greatest final episode of the season, the finale deals with Pete Thornton losing his eyesight. And it's something they kind of hint at in earlier episodes of the season. They don't really deal with it. In this finale, they reveal that Pete is going blind. The reason why they did that, and it's kind of nice that they did this, is because in real life, Dana Elcar was going blind. He had, I think it was due to diabetes, as far as I know. But the character of Pete is kind of diminished in the next season. Because he could not see very much, and it's kind of sad that they kind of had to kind of back him out of the show instead of being a character that was always with MacGyver and kind of being involved with him in certain adventures. He kind of had to take a step back because he was not able to see, and it's nice to see they actually put that in the show and it was very nice of them to let Dana stay on the show, and they changed his character because they had no way around it. They had to reveal the fact that he was losing his eyesight. So it was nice that they did that. However, the finale is basically a clip show. Again, just the writers just failing on all fronts at this point. And it just, again, it continues on the next season. So overall, season 6 is pretty much the low point of the show thus far. It is just not a great season. I do like the fact that, there are a few episodes here and there that are somewhat interesting. There is another episode of this show in this season where MacGyver becomes Indiana Jones again, but that actually ends up being one of the more interesting episodes of the season. So in this case, I can't really give this season of the show a very high review. I didn't like it very much. I'm going to give it like a 2 out of 5. Again, the show is really, really heading downhill at this point, and it's kind of going to lead to the inevitable cancellation of it, which is the next season, which I'm going to talk about next week. So tune in next time for season 7 of MacGyver. I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. Again, thank you for always coming back to Cavanaugh's Corner, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.